Okay, so let's build something a bit complex. As you can already see here, it says strawberry. So we are going to build procedural strawberry, which is kind of complex really. And really the key for successful building of these procedural materials is patience. So go slowly, layer by layer, one feature at a time. Start always with the most prominent. Most prominent feature on any material is its color or something related to this color. So we will create a new material and we will name it strawberry. That's, let's say, 5% of the job, and we'll apply it. And this strawberry is a perfect candidate for one type of projection. And let me load just a checkerboard shader here. So I will show you what I mean. So checkerboard. This checkerboard shader is really useful for testing things and how things wrap up. And you can actually see now it's not really good. Let me increase those frequencies to maybe 10 by 10, something like this. And since we were talking about, I'll just disable this style option. We were talking about these projection types, and here we have shrink wrapping, which means I will start the texture from the pole and finish also at the pole. So there will be no visible seams here. Okay? No visible breaks in the texture. And this is kind of what I want, and this has a sort of a circular manner here, and it would appear quite random when you apply some textures. This is a really good object for utilizing this shrink wrapping projection. Okay, so let's unload that checkerboard shader with pressing clear here, and we can start. The first thing I want to set up, because strawberry has some sort of translucency, and we will use that to really to get that strawberry to look much better. And I will start with this luminance channel, because this is generally where subsurface scattering shader goes. So let's load it here under effects, subsurface scattering. And if I do a preview render now, I just want to say you have to have shadows enabled for a subsurface scattering shader. This time I will multiply this effect with a color, and I will use the most brightest red I can use. Okay, and you see nothing happened unless we choose a mixing mode here. So I'll multiply that effect and see what we get. So this is really bright, and we'll play with these settings a bit. As we said earlier, this scattering length is the first thing you have to set with this shader. So let's set it to, it's roughly around 30 or something. Let's try it with 30 and see what we got. And just click off here somewhere, just to get rid of that existing. I want to increase this minimum thickness because I don't want the light really to penetrate something that is, let's say, 2 centimeters thick, something like that. And I want to delete completely this color value, so because I will use that color that I set in the color value here. Okay, so let's completely delete that and see what we get. And I want to use this use normals just to more precisely calculate this effect. So let's utilize that and see what we get. And now you can see our surface got really dark, so we will increase this strength to something like maybe 200. See what we get. Maybe even 300. We get some sort of a nice, yummy, fuzzy feeling. Okay, I think this could work for a start. And go back here, and I will disable this luminance channel for now, just because I'm happy with this setting, and I can work in another channel and combine them later to see really the effect I want. But I want this preview to go really quickly, so I will disable it. The next channel I will work is the color channel, and I will enable it. And since the surface of the strawberry is not really unique or completely diffused in a single color, it's some sort of a patchy gradient or something like that, so we will use a gradient here. But since I'm going to use many more features here, for example, those little grains, so I'm pretty much sure that I will need a layer shader to combine few of effects. So I will load a layer shader here and go in, and now I will drop a gradient inside it and search for some nice colors. And I don't want this gradient to start from one side to the other. I want it to be rather something like from in this middle or something like that. Let's search for something nice here. Let's cycle. It is always desirable for you to completely understand these settings, but for a start, just really experiment to see what the effect is. Maybe this circular guy? No. Box? Don't think so. And this could work. This could really work. Let's try some colors here, for example. The only thing that I do once again is I store colors here prior to recording, just to cut down on some time, so I don't have to manually search them or type values here or something like that. Okay, so let's try here. And let's copy that one with our control key down all the way to the end. And for this, I could actually create a third here with a little bit more brighter color, something like this. So let's see what we have now. Looks really decent, but I want to randomize that colors on the surface. I will utilize this turbulence value. So let's try something like 25 and see what we get. Well, this could work. Let's try 50 even. See what we get. I don't know if you can actually see that, but there is a lot of variation, small variation in color, in colorization of this surface. And that is exactly what you can find in nature. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with it. I'll go back. And the next thing I want to do is I wanted to create those little seeds on the surface of the strawberry. For that, I will use a tile shader, which can be found here under surfaces, tiles. And I will also disable this gradient for now, so I can exclusively work on one, just to keep things really neat and tidy. So to avoid any confusion, and let me go in that tiles shader. Firstly, I have to find a pattern that suits really that look of the seeds on the strawberry. And for example, circles or something like that. Let's try this, maybe this. And this circle 3 would be, say, good enough. I just want to scale all that down, something like maybe 50%, so it looks more natural. Maybe even more, maybe 25 even. I will increase this grout bit because it will even, let's try something like 20 and you will see the effect. It eats up those surroundings. It really shrinks those dots. Okay, it's not really technically correct, but you will get a good idea. Maybe even a little bit more. Maybe something like 50. See, and this is good. I will even go higher. Let's say 75. See what we get. I think this could work. When I have a general shape here, I want to play with colors a bit. And all these circles should be probably in the same color. So you can set the tiles color. For example, I think this color would be pretty good. And you can copy it now simply by holding and dragging it down. And once more, something like this. I want to set this grout to completely white so it doesn't interfere with our colorization there in the gradient shaders. So let's try this with those two guys combined. So let's enable this gradient guy, and we will run into a problem here because no matter how we set this, you will see that we won't be able to get really the results. I want these little dots on top of this gradient without any color mixing, and the only way to achieve this is this layer mask. And you have to say exclusively what is the shape of your mask, and almost always you will have to copy this guy here or this guy below. And let me show you what I mean. I will just copy it and create a layer mask. And you can see some odd things happening. And I want to set all these colors to completely black or completely white. So it's kind of similar to the alpha channel. So let's set black here and all these guys to white. I'm simply setting this to black or white so I don't pollute or interfere with these colors here. You see? Now I have the best of both worlds. I have the gradient underneath and I have this tile shader. And I told this upper tile shader how it will be mapped. So I used the mask. I told it put it exactly here and the black and the white areas control what will be visible. It's not that difficult to understand. It is really logical. Try it out on a simple example and you'll get the grip of it. Okay, this is coming along nicely, and you see those little seeds are not really straight in the real strawberry, I believe, and I'll just slightly distort them with this distort effect. I'll try something like 10% maybe. I think that's too much. Let's try 5%, something like this. Yeah, this could work. I believe this is it. So regarding the color channel, just slightly zoom out so we have a little bit faster render time, something like this. So let me do just a small pause and it will continue. Okay, so here we are again, and I want to work with adding really more and more details and really to get nice deformations and to represent those events in surface. I will use displacements. I absolutely adore this displacement in Cinema 4D, and I have to leave this color channel on just to be able to see how the colors will work with those displacements. Okay, so I'll take the whole this layer, I will right click, copy it, and I will drop it under displacement. And really from the experience, I know this will be really too much. This height should be really lower. I think about 1 centimeter maybe. And since I want those items to go inside of the object, I want to set this to minus direction because now they will go outside, they will be bulging outside, and I want them to go inside, so I'll put minus here. And here under type, I want to use intensity, because currently this intensity centered means that the 50% of gray will be the exact middle, and I want this intensity to go from completely from 0 to 100. This means that the 50% gray will be exactly 50%, and in this manner you will get nice linear results. First, I will delete everything that I don't need here. I certainly don't need gradient here, and displacements always best works with purely black and white values. I can even delete these tiles that has some color values to it, and I will change the mode to normal here. Use subpolygon displacement, so it will subdivide this mesh, which is really a low resolution mesh, and let's enable displacement and see what we get for the first result. And of course you can see this is really blocky, and I will use this round geometry, okay, something like that. You could even use one more subdivision level just to be sure to smooth things out. And this is quite okay, so let's dig into it some more. I want to really to copy this guy to create a little bit larger indentations for this. But before that, I want to displace the surface a bit with the bulging. So I will simply disable both of these guys and load another shader here. Okay, so I will use noise. I'll drop it all the way down. And here under noise, probably I shouldn't use noise. Let me just, I think it would be better to use something else. Let's try with the tiles. And Well, just to get a control, so I can actually control where those bumps would appear. With noise, you really can't 100% control that, so let's just disable displacement for a second and let's play with these values a bit. We will use circles 3 again. I will tune down the global scale to exactly the same value as it is on the other channel, so 25, so we have uniformity. And let's see what we have now. And these are the results. And as you can see, this is not good, so let's play a bit with this shader. I will drop this grout width to 0 and try with higher number here, let's say 50, and see what do we get. And this bevel is actually should have been called a smooth option. So let's try 100% here. So it really smooths out the transitions here. And you can already see that happening. And if you're asking yourself, why are those indents not exactly on the spot? This is actually because we have this distort channel disabled. So let's try enabling it and see what happens. So now you can see they're actually in place. And these two guys are really the same, but only this one is a bit softer and uses colors here, so it has some variation in height, just to add some randomness to the surface. Now what I want to do, I want these really seeds to be protruded. Actually, when we applied this shrink wrapping, we could have done a fit to object command just really to wrap it exactly, and we will get some downscaling, so it will be looking even more better. So let's do a fit to object command and you will see the results now. So this way you can scale down any of these shaders combined. Okay, so don't be afraid to set everything up. You can scale up and down any time you want with this tag here. Okay, and you can even use this texture tool so you can visually scale it. So now it's beginning to look even more like strawberry, and if I enable these tiles now, you will see this result, which is not really what we want. We really want to keep both of these features, so we want to have these little guys, and if I just turn the visibility off, we also want to keep those indents. So the only way to do that is to create a layer mask, because you won't be able to achieve that with those standard blending modes. And to do that, you will simply copy the one that you need to mask and simply set its mode to layer mask. And let's see now what we get here. Let's give it a second or two to render. Now you see we kept the best of both worlds. We have those little guys still in here and those indents also. Maybe I can even tune down this grout width to something like 60 just to get even more variation here. Now let's activate our luminance channel and see where we stand. I will just briefly do a test render. And it's coming along nicely, but we will even make this even better. Okay, so I will deactivate this luminance channel. And I will enable this reflection channel, and the strawberries are a little bit reflecting. Currently this is not really what we are looking for. This can be really some sort of highly stylized metal strawberry, but in this case we want something that looks really decent and real. So firstly I will put this brightness completely to 0 just to make sure that this doesn't have any effect on our surface. You can see that it is like it's turned off, and I will control this reflection with a Fresnel, which we discussed. Basically, the Fresnel will do the next. Let me enable it, and it will all become really clear to you. The effect is really too pronounced, and it will scale it down a bit, but this is exactly what I mean here. Somewhere along these lines, the strawberry will be less reflecting, and as it goes further away, it will become more reflective, just like in real world. So let's try something like 50 for starters. I really am trying to show you the real workflow. I really know what numbers I will put inside, but that comes only with the experience. So I will put 25 here and be almost sure it will be quite good. Okay, something like this. So we want to create all those features of the surface that you can find on that object in the nature. And almost every surface has a blurred reflections. And I will add just a small amount, maybe 10% will do fine. Let's see and find out. Maybe it won't be so visible right now, but it will be visible later in the render. And let's enable our luminance channel and see what we have combined. I will just skip once it renders. And it looks really nice now, but I even want to add a little bit of more detail to it. And I will do that in diffusion channel. So to further improve this, I will load here under diffusion channel something that is not really easily understandable, but it often works. So I will load subsurface scattering shader also in diffusion channel. Almost in any situation, the default subsurface scattering shader works well. Give it some time to render it, and you can see it already looks really good. I'll just crank up some values, maybe use something around 20 here, samples. I'll disable the render for now, and here I will also use more samples in the blurriness, like maybe 200. And of course I will, now when I'm actually rendering that I want to get some sort of a decent quality, I will increase those guys. Let's say accuracy here for the shadow and increase this maximum samples to something like 500. Minimum samples to, let's say, 20. And you should really experiment with those settings because there is no general number that will work. If you put some insane numbers here, really high, it will most definitely work, but that will really add to your render time significantly. And I will do a small test render now to see what do I get. There we have a pretty decent strawberry shader. Okay, so let's build our next shader.